Diapers on a plane. What we need are my friends to visit, and we need to have a mountain, and we need to go to TV and watch television, and we need to watch someone and daddy are going to watch that my present.
Yes,
Awesome.
good job.
Okay, now can it be Mommy's turn?
No, it's my turn.
Okay, one more.
What we need are my friends to visit.
Okay.
And I'm going to the just watch the television. So that will well sing B. So don't touch it. Try to be hey. Because we need food to get in bubble because things. So it's funny. So let's ask my friends. They had corn on my pockets.
Welcome to Vodcast number 56, Diapers on a Plane. This week, we decided to do an LDS Church History Tour. So typically the way that in the area that we went to.
I'm gonna do six.
Yep, say it starts in Independence, and then it goes to Liberty, and then it goes up to Far West, and then Ondi-Ahman. Yeah, so that's what we decided to do. We decided to do the Church History Sites tour, basically from Independence, which is just outside of Kansas City, and then go up to Liberty Jail, and then go up to Far West and Ondi-Ahman. So we did it a little bit out of order because we've already been to Far West and Ondi-Ahman, but we'll talk about it a little bit. And we actually started in Liberty because we made our way the opposite way. So in Liberty, what we were able to do was we learned about Alexander Donovan, we learned about Liberty Jail.
We learned about Joseph Smith, who was one of the prisoners of the 6 men in Liberty Jail.
Yeah, so let's talk about each one of those things. So the first thing we did do was go to... Yes, absolutely. And we loved it. It looks a lot like the old Kirtland original temple that they built in Ohio, and it was really beautiful. Gavin had the opportunity to go through the temple, but we did take the kids and we walked around the grounds. Hey, you got to be a little bit quiet, okay? And we walked around the grounds, and it's so beautiful, and it's just in this really beautiful area, beautiful ground. That is great, huh? Did you have a good time? Yes, I did. Okay. Do you want to sing your song? You said you wanted to sing a song. Sing, I love to see the temple.
I love to see that temple. Where's I going? Happy go. All the Jews that think water come back.
Good job.
Good job. High five.
So yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, so we went to multiple church places, and that's why we're doing the podcast today, so we can show those off. But one of the first places after the temple that we visited was the what is it called? The statue of the 8 witnesses? It's not a statue.
Just
Monument.
Monument, yeah.
8 witnesses.
And who are the 8 witnesses? Who can say?
One of them was Nephi. No.
I don't even remember. I don't remember. It was the original 8 witnesses of the Book of Mormon. It's on.
So it was most of the Whitmer family, and then
Hiram Smith.
Mommy.
Yeah, and some of Joseph Smith's family. Yeah. Joseph's father. Yeah. So these 8 witnesses were the 8 witnesses that got to see the Book of Mormon and got to hold it. Remember the word hefted? We learned about the word hefted. Right, so we learned what hefted was, and they decided to sign their names and declare that they knew that the gold plates were real. And so the monument's really cool because there's some grave markers. There used to be, this was an area that was really close to where they did the monument, where they did do, where they signed it.
Okay, so before we went to this monument, I'd actually heard about it from several other people who mentioned how it was in the middle of the nowhere down this dirt street, and all of a sudden there's this monument there, and it did not disappoint. It's literally down the dirt street. You turn right, there's a fence, and there's a monument on a little grassy field.
And it was pouring rain, so we had to make this trip. And
the Monument of the 8 Witnesses, kind of a really quick trip, but it's nice because it's convenient to all the other stops on this section of Missouri.
So we had made this trip planned, and we had planned it for a specific day, and because we had to make a trek, to do it, and it was pouring rain. First? Yeah, and it was pouring rain, and we just decided we had to do it no matter what. So we went there, and we just got soaked the first 5 minutes of the day venture that we had, and we were soaked. But we made the big day of it. So that was our first stop. And then after that, we learned about Alexander Doniphan. Who can remember who that is?
Didn't he help the Joseph Smith escape from jail? Wait.
No, he was Joseph Smith's lawyer, and he defended him. And what did people say about him? So Alexander Doniphan, there's Alexander things all over town. There's a highway, and there's monuments. There's a school, because he had everybody acclaimed him for his character, because he really stood by the Constitution of the United States and made sure that nobody was falsely accused of anything, and that was what he defended as a lawyer.
Yeah, and there's a really cool play on Broadway, a musical by that Len Mill Miranda guy who wrote a play about it, right?
That's Hamilton.
Well, that's Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Oh my goodness, this is a disaster. Okay, and then after seeing all those sites, then we ended up in Liberty Jail. And what's really interesting to me is why is it called Independence, Missouri?
Because it's where the Declaration of Independence was written. No, it was signed. Yeah, where it was.
None of the above.
So they named it after the Declaration of Independence. Yes. After the Declaration of Independence. And for Latter-day Saints, this is a very important city because we believe
that's where Liberty Jail is. And no,
we know it's where Liberty Jail was because we saw it.
No, it's because it's where the temple that Jesus Christ will return to.
Right, that's where we believe that the city of Zion in the millennium will be.
What was cool about Independence? Miss Pie?
Is that the place where we got to go through that tour?
Yeah, so we had a tour there. What did we look at in the tour?
We looked at how Joseph Smith built the cabins where they lived, and we figured out how Joseph Smith and the early saints printed the Book of Commandments. Yeah, and a lot of the pages were lost, and some girls saved a lot of them.
Yeah, do you remember that story? Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. So there was there were bad people that broke into their cabins where they were making the Book of Commandments, and they wanted to destroy everything. So they even threw the printer out the window. And some girls saw them doing it, so they went and grabbed as much of pages as they could, and then they ran away, and the guys and the people said, "Hey, stop, get those back." And then they chased after them, and they found a hole in the fence and ran into a cornfield and hid the pages under their skirts and set a present they would be. Yeah, and in that giant cornfield, people never
So we saw the cabins, we did the tour, we talked to the sister missionaries there, and what I thought was cool learning about all the different churches that are there. What different churches are there now?
There's the Community of Christ.
Mm-hmm. And the Church of Christ.
And then there's that big stone church, but I don't think anybody comes in there.
So a big stone church, a lot of different churches, a lot of fascinating stuff there. And one of the big draws there is the temple sites. Did you guys find all the cornerstones?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, where are the cornerstones?
Okay, it's because of where the cornerstones, it didn't look like the temple was very big. The cornerstones looked about maybe 20 or 30 feet away from each other.
Well, where were they? Let's describe where they were.
They were in a big grassy field, and there was a church next to it.
Yeah, so we had a big contest about who could find the cornerstones first.
It was actually the southeast stone, and you said 1, 2, 3, go, and they just sprinted off forward, and I just walked them right to the side, and I found it.
Yeah.
And then it's super funny. And I found 2 other ones.
Yeah, and then you found 2 more. Yeah, so there's in a big grassy field, and apparently that field is owned by the Church of Christ, and then all the adjoining fields are owned by the Community of Christ, and then the Latter-day Saints own, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns another site, and that's the visitor center, and that's where we went and saw a replication of the cabins that they were building when they migrated when they came to Missouri, and learned about some other things.
So in a nutshell, there's this plot of land that all these churches want to build a temple on. None of them have been able to yet. and they're all trying to. And so there's a lot of churches around this plot of land. For those of you who aren't LDS, it's actually pretty interesting. And those who are LDS, it's still very interesting. And so we were pretty excited to go check it out and walk around that space. Now when we hear about it and talk about it, we have that frame of reference. So that was a really cool experience for me, and to take the family to visit that.
All right, the last thing we did before we headed east was we visited Liberty Jail. And Liberty Jail is, who wants to give a synopsis of, let's let Eclair do it.
So the Liberty Jail, first we gotta hear a lot about the Liberty Jail at a place in the Liberty Jail. And the next tour in the Liberty Jail was we got to see the Liberty Jail, a new build of it, and we got to see what Joseph Smith talked about in the Liberty Jail.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Was it outside?
It was inside a big dome. Actually, yeah. I think it was the original one, and it was built, but it was already built, and then they put a dome over it for a tour.
Right, so it's where it originally was, and it's most of it is the same, but they reconstructed it, right, out of the rundown parts. But they built a building around it so you can visit it all year round, and I thought that was kind of cool. Because no matter rain or shine, you can always go visit the Liberty Jail and get a tour and hear all about it, which I thought was really neat. And I've also heard we still want to make a trip out to Carthage Jail, and we hear that that's the same way, that they've built a building around it, so it helps preserve it and keep it there.
But what is Liberty Jail?
It's where Joseph Smith and six other people that were with him. Five other people that were with him. There are people that were sent to the jail, and because they were preaching the gospel, and other people were bad and they didn't believe them.
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons that Alexander Doniphan was their lawyer, is because people were saying that they were breaking the law by preaching, but he defended them and said that it was unlawful that they were put into jail.
Okay.
So there were 5 other men in there, and it was really
small.
Yeah, really small. It was 2 stories.
It was a 14 by 14 foot square.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to sleep on hard rocks that were built together. They're flat. Some parts were pointy and some parts were flatter. And there's a little bit of hay on the ground. And they only slept with a couple of blankets.
How cold was it while they were there?
Negative 20 degrees. Negative 20 to 30.
Once again, it's really cool to something you hear about a lot with church history, and then actually going and seeing how thick the walls were, the size it really was. It was pretty cool because it had 2 feet stone walls on the outside, followed by chunks of rock on the inside, so they couldn't dig through and escape. And it kind of really paints a real vivid picture of the experience they had, and that's what I loved, going there and visiting and taking my family there to go see it.
It was also really neat because you got to envision where he got a lot of the scriptures in the Doctrine and Covenants, the revelations that he got and where he got them, and then you got to hear the words of the other men that were in Liberty Jail with him, and it just really gives you a really good scope of the circumstances that they were in and why things happened the way they happened, why they were praying for certain things and how they felt about certain things. So that's what I thought that was really interesting.
That was super neat.
Compelling.
And in Liberty Jail, he still had papers in there, and he still got a draw in there.
Yeah, he did. He got to draw pictures. I'm sure he drew lots of pictures.
What do you think he drew pictures of? What do you think? What would you draw pictures of if you were in jail?
My family.
Things that you remember. Did his family get to visit him?
Yes. And his brother was there, Hiram Smith. And the first time he got to see his baby son was when he was in jail.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was Joseph Fielding Smith, who later became prophet. So pretty cool history.
Lots of stuff happened there. So it was really neat to be in this space. And for me personally, I'm a very visual, hands-on person. So that just gives me so much perspective and ability to really understand, what happened and all of that.
So I'd love to hear in the comments, have you been to any of these locations? The Kansas City Temple, the Monument of the Eight Witnesses, Liberty Jail, and Independence, Missouri. What did we miss? What was your favorite part? Kind of a really rich history there that I had no idea.
So
I like the tour. I like the tour with the houses and the printers and stuff.
No, the printing stuff was really cool.
I like the Liberty Jail part.
Oh yeah, I like that one too. I like those two tours.
So that was our trip this week, but one thing we just wanted to mention, because this trip is typically taken in tandem with going to Far West and Ondi-Ahman. So these things, Liberty Jail and Independence, they're about 15 minutes apart. And then if you had another like 30 or 40, you can go to Far West and Ondi-Ahman, which is also part of the Latter-day Saint church history. And in Far West, there was a very specific prophecy that was given that's the only prophecy that was given where something happened on a very specific date in time. And it was the only prophecy that a date was ever attached to it. And so in Far West, there was another temple cornerstones that were put down, and you can also go and see those. And this is interesting too, because it's adjacent to a lot of another church, and it was also one of these churches that was reorganized at the same time. So it just gives you a lot of placement of history and of how these churches came to be, and about kind of like the whole Reformation, Latter-day Reformation, sects of America that happened. And Ondi-Ahman, of course, which is a huge plot of land owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And you can go, and we went and had a picnic with some friends, and it was just really surreal being there, and all the cool history that happened there.
A lot of fun stuff to see.
In the stones in there, they had one about the Aaronic priesthood, the Melchizedek priesthood. I don't remember the other two.
Yeah. So I really thought that Far West, when you look at Far West, you can't see the other temple, so you're just kind of honing in on the land, and just that it feels very sacred and spiritual to me. I didn't feel that as much in Independence, I think, because you've got that huge other church and temple that's right there, and then all the flags and all the other statues.
Yeah. So my hot take on it was that there was a lot of like how do I say this? There was a lot of like religious competition in Independence, Missouri. That's part of the thing that was fascinating. They all came from the same general foundation of the doctrine of the, Joseph Smith translating the Book of Mormon. They all came from the same original source, but they diverged and then kind of battled it out. And so you do feel like this air of like competition there. But then really just thinking, like sitting back when I was really soaking it all in, thinking that these are all still brothers and sisters in Christ, and we're all the same here on earth. So it's a weird juxtaposition, definitely a different place, fascinating place to visit.
Well, what I don't understand is, how did these other churches like build up their congregations? Because there was an extermination order for all persons who basically believed
and we're getting into the doctrine now.
For all people who believed in the Book of Mormon. So I'm just very curious. This is actually about the law. Why were these churches able to stay?
I think they came back.
Well, I know that, like, especially the Community of Christ. So that was my question. And the Church of Christ only lasted 3 years, and then the Community of Christ, I think, didn't really get founded for another 30. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because I wanted to look more into that. So that was our trip. It was a really awesome trip. It was really great if you are into history. If you are into history and you're religious, or if you're into history and you're not religious, this was a huge part of really the founding of many states, many city designs. Joseph Smith sold a lot of the city design for Independence. He sold it to multiple cities all over the area, all the way up into Canada. So lots of city designs are based off of Independence, Missouri. So it's really cool if you want to seek out history as it pertains to, how early America in the early 1800s really came about. And so much of that history is just right here in this area. Thanks for watching.
Bye. See you next time. Like and subscribe to Diapers on the Plane.
That is the best.